Earlier I had mentioned the innate and adaptive immune systems. So we have each, all right? The innate immune system or innate immunity is things that you are born with, all right? And there's a whole category of molecules and cells that are involved in innate immunity. But in order to have innate immunity, you don't need to do anything. There's no viral response. There are no antibodies or anything like that involved. You just got to be. Adaptive immunity is the one that vaccines utilize, or the one that vaccines sort of play off of or help to make stronger. And that's the one we're going to be discussing mostly today. So here is a picture of the innate and adaptive immunity. You don't need to know all of these. What I want you to know mostly today is B cells and T cells. So B cells, T cells, antibodies, and dendritic cells, which I'm going to discuss. But yeah, these ones you are just born with these. These ones you need to train your body to make those strong so that they can help you fight disease. And natural killer cells, we're not going to worry about those, but those are part of the overlap between the two. Okay, so just a word of warning, this is going to get a little bit corny here. I apologize, but it's going to get cheese. So here is you, a conglomeration of a whole bunch of cells. And then one day, you have an invader, which in this case looks like I think they're called xenomorphs from the Alien films, but pretend like this is a viral cell or a virus that's going to come and try to kill you as its stated goal. Obviously, you don't want your cells just dying, and so your body is going to bring in what is called a dendritic cell. Our body has brought in a dendritic cell to keep us safe. So we're in this war against these alien creatures, and these dendritic cells are some of the first lines of defense. And what winds up happening is the dendritic cells are able to kill, some of these invaders. Certainly not all of them, but they're able to slay one virus, at least one virus. So the virus has been killed. I know, I should have been an animator. I missed my calling. But then this dendritic cell is going to grab a piece of that alien invader. It's going to grab a piece of that virus. That dendritic cell is going to tell everybody about this guy. He's got a piece of the viral armor, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to go and say, hey, body, we're looking for this. This is the guy that we need to be watching out for. And so it goes back to its home base, if you will, which is here. This is a picture of lymphatic tissue. Okay, these are your lymph nodes. So what's happened so far is your body has been invaded by this alien virus. A dendritic cell has happened upon it and killed it. It's taken a piece of the virus and it's brought it back to the lymph node. So once it gets back to the lymph node, it's got its its wanted poster. It's going to train the body that, hey, this is the guy we need to be looking out for. It's going to show it to the B lymphocytes. These are called B cells. You don't need to know the term lymphocyte, but you should know what a B cell is. Okay? So dendritic cell, taken a part of the virus, brought it back to the lymph node, and it's showing it to the B cell. B cells are actually not quite this large. They're quite small, but what's going to happen is these B cells are going to proliferate. Or more accurately, the one B cell that is able to destroy that piece of armor, the one B cell that is equipped to deal with this alien invader, that B cell in particular is going to proliferate. Okay? These B cells have weapons that match this virus's armor. And this is the reason why when you start to get sick, your lymph nodes become swollen. Okay, your body has proliferated all of these cells there, and you're starting to get a little bit of a little bump on your skin as a result of these infections. As I said, the dendritic cell has shown that viral antigen. Antigen is a term that you should know. And an antigen is, you can think of it as just kind of like a target for a B cell. It's a little protein that was on the armor of that alien invader, and it's showing it to B cells and T cells. We'll get back to T cells, but remember, we've got a bunch of B cells now that match the armor of that virus. So those B cells, what they're actually going to do is they're going to make these things called antibodies. Antibody is a term that you should know. Antibodies are these little Y-shaped proteins that are going to stick all over a viral particle, or the virus's armor, or the virus's spike protein, whatever it is. Those antigens, those antibodies are going to find those antigens, and they're going to attach to them. So what happens when an antibody attaches to an antigen is that it marks it for the body to destroy. Okay, it allows these other cells, part of your innate immune system, macrophages, to come and eat those viral particles. They also disable the viruses because they're just stuck with all of these sticky proteins, and they're not able to attach to your cells because it's being blocked, physically blocked by these antigens. Interestingly, the second time you are infected with a virus, you have a much larger antibody response, which is why people often report feeling much worse after the second vaccine. This is not, by the way, this is not a linear scale. This is logarithmic. And so when you go from here to here, you know, it looks like, I don't know, a 20-fold increase, but it's actually like a 100-fold increase. So, you know, here's the first vaccine you get. You have a certain amount of antibodies produced. Here's the second vaccine you get. You have a ton of antibodies made, which is why you need to get 2 doses. And the result of this bigger viral response the second time is why people feel the second vaccine. It's why people report getting sick and not feeling well. And there's much more going on here than just B cells. There are other immune responses taking place as well. So I skipped over the T cells. So I guess we'll talk about T cells next time. But things that you should know: what were the first vaccines? How did those come to be? China, a few hundred years ago, they found if they just give somebody a stick with smallpox, they wouldn't get as sick. Innate and adaptive immunity: you're born with one, you have to train one. Dendritic cells, B cells, and T cells. We'll get to T cells next time, but dendritic cells take part of the virus and show it to the B cells. Those B cells produce a whole bunch of antibodies. Antibodies stick to the virus and mark it for destruction and also prevent it from infecting other cells. Why do you feel worse after the second dose of your vaccine? It's because your body's immune system is much more pronounced the second time. You're producing a lot more antibodies. There's a lot more going on. Okay, so next time we're going to continue discussing vaccines, viruses, and I will talk about T cells.